Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Laura. I'm a personal trainer, bikini competitor, and sports nutritionist. And today we are going to go over my top 17 tips for first-time bikini competitors. So I came up with this list, but it's more so about like my tips for like how to handle the prep itself and like the process of getting to stage rather than like show day tips. So if you guys want, if you find this informative and resourceful, then I'll make a separate video for my tips for actual show day. But these are kind of going to be for like leading up to show day and just like how to take in the whole process basically and things to be mindful of beforehand. So let's get into it. Okay, tip number 1, make sure you have a good relationship with food before you even think about competing. Please, 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 I've said this before, but do not go into a bikini competition prep if you are currently struggling with an eating disorder, if you are still in the process of recovering from an eating disorder. Bodybuilding and the process of a prep changes your relationship with food. It changes the dynamics with which you interact with food, the way you think about food, the way you enjoy food. Everything about it will be different. So you really, it's going to change anyway. Your relationship is going to change anyway, regardless. That's kind of like a given. But before getting into a prep, just make sure you're in the best possible place. You kind of want to have like a neutral view of food where it's not like, you know, something that you reward yourself with for like working out really hard, or something that you binge on, or anything that you obsess over. You just want it to be like, food is just there. I just eat it. I enjoy it. And that's probably the best place you can enter a prep from, because bikini competition prep will leave you with obsessive food thoughts. Most competitors end up with like some type of eating disorder, whether it's like binging and restricting or yeah. So I personally have never had a history with an eating disorder, but I can say confidently that after my second bikini competition, which I did this year, my third competition, my second prep, because I did 2 back-to-back shows my first year, I definitely have somewhat of an eating disorder. I think it's like a binging type. To be honest, I'm not very like knowledgeable on like what exactly constitutes an eating disorder. I think it's like if you binge for like more days out of the month than you don't, or something like that. And I don't necessarily do that, but there are definitely like a few times throughout the week where I will find my hand in a bag of granola and just like I black out and like I'm not able to like stop eating it. And that's just me being 100% honest with you guys. That's a side effect of competing that you might end up with. Not everybody does, but you might. So just something to be aware of. Okay, and also these tips are not in any particular order. They're just kind of in the order that I thought of them in when I wrote my list. So tip number 2, trust your coach and trust the process. You cannot trust your own like objectivity or your own eye. When you're taking your check-in pictures and sending them to your coach, there's a reason you're sending it to your coach. They are the ones that know best, like how to get you through to be on stage. So, you know, don't look at your pictures obsessively and think like, I'm not lean enough, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Like, it's good to, you know, be able to like critique your physique and stuff, but you definitely do not want to make any decisions about your prep based on your perception of your pictures. That's your coach's job. That's what you hired them to do. They know what's best. So if they're not adjusting your macros or they're not dropping any food from your plan, and you think that you look like too fluffy or you're not lean enough, don't change what you're eating and then not tell your coach just because you think that's what's best, because your coach needs to know that you are following their plan to a T in order for them to make any changes to the plan. When you start taking matters into your own hands, that's when things get messy, because it's like your coach is going based on what they think you're doing, based on what they gave you. So yeah, do not, unless you want to prep yourself, which I do not recommend, don't trust your own judgment. Trust your coach's judgment. I know there are times when you're going to be like, I'm not going to be ready in time. I need to do more cardio and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, there's a reason they're having you do things the way they're having you do things. Like, and if they're not a good coach and, you really don't trust them, then find somebody else. It's never too late. I know girls who 1 week out from their show, like right going into peak week, they found a new coach because it just wasn't working with their current one. So yeah, trust your coach, trust the process. Tip number 3, take so many pictures. Take more pictures than you think is necessary. This does not just apply to your check-ins with your coach. I mean, like when you're in the gym, like after your workout, when you have that sick pump, or just, in regular life. I mean, granted, when you're in prep, you're kind of not socializing as much as you normally would be. But go out, put on a dress, put on a nice outfit, take pictures, because you want to document like how you look throughout, because you're gonna, like in the moment, sometimes you're like, oh, I don't look good, because you get super critical, you get body dysmorphia. It's normal, we all go through it. But when you look back at the pictures later after the show, you're gonna be like, holy crap, I was way leaner than I thought I was. Because your mind just plays tricks on you when you look in the mirror, when you're in competition prep. So I wish that from my first prep last year that I had taken so many more pictures, because I look at my check-in pictures and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I looked so good, but all I have pictures of is me in the same bikini week after week. I don't really have too many pictures of me in the gym, working out, anything like that. So this prep this year, I made it a conscious effort to make sure that every time I was in the gym, I took pictures. I scheduled photo shoots with photographers to, document me at my leanest going into peak week. So yeah, please, you're going to want to remember how you looked in your body. Okay, tip number 4 might make me sound like a hypocrite if you guys watched my bikini competition prep series this year, which if you haven't, please go back and watch it. But tip number 4 is don't buy too post-show snacks or treats. And this is something I had to learn from experience, because it's exciting, when you're getting down to like the last couple weeks and like after the show, you're going to go out and celebrate with your friends and your family. You're going to eat and, you're in the grocery store and you're like, ooh, pretty soon I'm going to be able to have these Oreos, so let me get them now. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to go overboard. What I did my first season was I got maybe like 1 or 2 like savory and sweet things that were in the grocery store that I wanted to try to bring with me to the show. But then I just went out to dinner and then had a couple Oreos or whatever, and that was it. Versus this season, I just went crazy. I bought desserts from one of my baker friends. I bought stuff from the grocery store. I bought I just like, we had between me, my friend, and my boyfriend, like we had way too many things. And what that did for me was it just made me obsess. Like, I remember being on FaceTime with my mom, maybe like 2 weeks out from the show or something. And I literally was like, Mom, do you want to see my bag of post-show treats? And I literally like showed her on FaceTime, like all of the things that I was like dying to eat. And she was like, wow, you're really excited. And it's like, that's a problem. Like, that's when you know it's really bad. Like, yes, you're hungry in prep, but having the stuff that you want to eat, that you're craving, in your house before you're able to have it is just next level sadistic. And like, you shouldn't do it. Just whatever you're gonna want is still gonna be there. Unless, I will say this, unless it's a limited edition item, if it's like, I don't know, Krispy Kreme like had Chips Ahoy like donuts or something while I was in prep, and then they didn't have them anymore once I was done with prep, that I'm still sad about. but aside from that, like, Oreos are always going to be there. Like, I don't know, whatever else you want, Cheez-Its are always going to be there. Like, don't just don't have it around you. It's just going to make you think about it way more than you should. Focus on your performance, focus on what you can control, focus on bringing your best package to stage, and then I promise you, you can, whatever you want will be there after. Tip number 5 is try your best to maintain all of your friendships and your social relationships. Prep is very individual. It's something that you are dedicating a huge chunk of your time and effort into, and usually there is no leftover time for anything else. And if you go to parties and stuff like that, you're not going to be able to be present in the same way that you normally would be, because you're going to be bringing your own meals with you. You're not going to be able to drink alcohol. You're not going to be able to eat the food that everybody is eating. That's fine. And if you have good friends and a good support system, they will understand and they will still want to be around you no matter what. However, try to still see your friends. Try to, instead of, getting coffee or getting lunch, offer a hike. That's something that I do even when I'm out of prep, just because like, if I don't want to spend money on food, I'm like, let's just go for a hike instead and catch up that way. And usually you'll have more time to catch up, because a 3-mile hike will take longer than it will to, get a coffee or something. So, yeah. And then you can do the hike as your cardio, make sure that it's okay with your coach first. But usually, if you're doing like a pretty challenging hike, your heart rate will be where it should be for your cardio sessions. So, see if that's okay with your coach to do 1 cardio session a week as a hike, and make it a date with one of your friends. Tip number 6 kind of goes along with tip number 5 in a different way. It's put yourself first, which I know sounds weird, but prep is kind of the one time that you can be completely and utterly selfish, and it's kind of warranted. Like, you are in a bodybuilding prep in order for you to bring your best physique to the stage. And even if you're doing it, because you want to go pro and set yourself up and be able to provide for your family as a professional athlete, that's different. But when you're just in prep, it is you, your food, and the gym, pretty much. Like, that's it. And so, assert yourself and assert your boundaries. Don't feel like you have to say yes to everything. If, you're supposed to, I don't know, go see a friend or something, but you're feeling extremely exhausted from the week of, doing an hour and a half of cardio every day and, being on so low calories, take the time to rest. Like, your body needs that. Listen to your body. Sometimes it's really hard when we're in prep because we are kind of like asking a lot of our bodies and asking for our bodies to go through a lot of stress and, soreness and just fatigue. But try your best to, prioritize yourself and your body's needs. And yeah, prep is a great way to practice boundaries, actually. Tip number 7, do not go into your show with any expectations. Everybody around you in your life, all your gym friends, your boyfriend, your best friend, your mom, your whatever, everybody is going to tell you, you're going to win, like, you look so amazing and whatever. And that's so nice of them to think that and to say that. However, they are not bodybuilding judges, and they don't know what the competition that you're going up against looks like. They're only seeing you in the gym. They are only seeing you in your check-in pictures or your pictures that you're posting on Instagram or whatever. So yeah, don't let other people's encouragement kind of set you up with any sort of expectations. I mean, obviously be confident in yourself, and, like, if you have, like, if you want to win and go to nationals and really like pursue like a career in this, then obviously, like, don't like keep that vision, but don't let other people's input kind of like psych you out and like make you think like that, you're gonna like sweep the whole show, like, just based on their opinions. Because the average person, like the average gym goer or like a family member of yours, doesn't know what the criteria actually is, like what it actually takes to win a bodybuilding show. They just see you and they see that you're looking amazing and you're looking super lean and muscular and whatever. But yeah, just keep that in mind. Tip number 8 is have a good reason why you are competing, and remember that why on your really hard days. I mean, remember it every day, but especially you're going to need it on the really hard days. Whether it's, you're doing it because you want to be more disciplined with yourself, or you want to, really commit to a lifestyle of health and fitness, whatever it is, just make sure that you hold that like in your mind, and it stays top of mind. Because, competing can really like make you crazy. I don't know how else to say it, but it makes you a little like, prep can just make you like really obsessive about everything and make you forget why you decided to do it in the first place. Because sometimes you'll see like, you'll have like some event like a wedding or something important and major that's happening that you're not able to fully like enjoy because, you have to bring your meals, or like you have to get your training in, like whatever it is. And during those times when it's like, oh, I just wish I could like, I wish this wasn't happening while I was in prep. Like, I wish I could like fully enjoy this. That's when you have to remember why you're prepping. Like, why are you competing? Is it, because you want to push yourself to the limits? You want to see what your best physique could look like? Or, it has to be something for you, and it has to be something deep. So I say, before you even think about getting a coach or think about like signing up for a show, really ask yourself, sit with yourself and journal about it, why you are competing. You're going to need to remember your why during your hour-and-a-half cardio sessions while you're slaving away on the Stairmaster or treadmill, I promise. Tip number 9, caffeine really helps. And if you like caffeine, I would drink a lot of it. I can make a whole separate video just on like tips for like food wise and like how to curb like cravings and stuff like that. But caffeine is just kind of almost like an essential part of prep. I mean, I just don't know how anybody preps without caffeine, because caffeine curbs your hunger, suppresses appetite, and it gives you energy and mental focus. And to be honest, yes, your body is physically fatigued during prep, but also your brain kind of stops working. Your brain like leaves the chat when you're like about 4 weeks out. Prep brain is a real thing. You get mental fog. You're at body fat levels that you should not be at for longer than like 4-ish weeks. So yeah, caffeine will help you a lot with that. And on that note, learn how to drink your coffee black, because if you can't, that's gonna really suck, because you can't really have milk or almond milk when you're getting close to a show. Stevia helps, obviously, like no 0-calorie sweeteners or like sugar-free sweeteners and stuff like that. But even then, those kind of get cut out like 2 weeks before a show. So yeah, get on the black coffee train. Tip number 10, don't compare yourself to pros. You will probably get really into the sport if you're like, you know, if it's your first competition, you probably are gonna wanna like get some knowledge on like how the sport works, what the criteria is and stuff like that. And you'll probably go, you know, looking for information on YouTube and Instagram, and you'll find like, you know, the Olympia pros and professional bikini athletes. Don't compare yourself to their physiques, because those are physiques that they have been crafting and working on and, you know, not cheating on their diets and training hard for years on years on years. Like, you know, usually like before the Olympia stage, they've been competing for 6 years, and prior to stepping on stage for the first time, they've usually been training for like 5 to 10 years. So if you're just kind of getting into training and, you know, you want to do a show, like go for it. I don't believe that like there's any amount of time that you need to be training for before you should do a show. I think you should do a show when you want to. It's your life. And, you know, usually like it's more of a timing thing. But just don't like look at pros' physiques and be like, oh, well, I'm not going to be ready because I don't have quads like that, or my glutes don't look like that. Like, just focus on bringing the best package you can bring, the best version of your body, where you're at with your training and your nutrition. And then if you enjoy it and you want to, you know, keep going, then yeah, then you could be like, oh, I really like, you know, Laura Lee Chapados' glutes. Like, I want to strive for that. Or, you know, I like, you know, this other pro's like quad density. I want to like go for that. Like, but for the first time, just be you. Don't try to like mimic any pros, because it's your first time. Just enjoy it. Tip number 11, sleep, sleep, sleep. Prioritize your sleep. I can't stress this one enough. If you're in a job where you are, you know, working night shift or getting very little sleep, it's gonna show on your physique, because muscle is not built in the gym like most people think. Your muscles tear at the gym, but the repair process is when they actually grow, and they repair when you are resting and when you're recovering, and sleep is the best form of recovery. So whatever you need to do to get yourself to sleep, do it, because when you're training so intensely and you're doing, really long cardio sessions, and especially when you're not eating as much, hunger will keep you up at night, and your sore muscles will keep you up at night. So usually bodybuilders like have trouble sleeping during prep. So melatonin, try if you can fit it into your macros, like with the carbs, get some sleep gummies, like CBD or anything. If you like to partake in Mary Jane, whatever you need to do, but make sure that you are getting at least 8 hours of sleep a night. Tip number 12 is to ask lots of questions. So if you know somebody that has competed before, ask them questions and just, get as much information as you can. Ask a lot of questions to your coach, especially. If you have a coach that is not open to answering all of your questions, that's a red flag. You should not be with a coach that's like dismissive of questions or just assumes that you should know what you're doing. Especially if it's your first time, they should be, they not cater to you, but they should be pretty open to, giving you the information that you need. Especially if like your coach is giving you a cheat meal or something like that. Don't hesitate to ask, like, hey, do you have any guidelines for this cheat meal? Like, what do you want me having? What's the ideal like meal I should go for? Because if you just hear your coach say, hey, have a cheat meal this Sunday, like that could be anything. Like for some people, it could be like, 3 burgers and fries and a donut. But for others, it's like, 1 roll of sushi. So it's like, you have to like make sure that you and your coach are on the same page. And the way you do that is by asking questions and clarifying things. Also, like if you don't know a certain exercise, if you're not familiar with it, but it's in your training program, you can YouTube it, you can look up videos and stuff, but maybe your coach has a specific way they want you to do it. So just ask, it doesn't hurt to ask, and seek out the information on your own. Don't just assume anything, because you don't want to leave anything on the table. You don't want to come out of prep with any regrets and wishing that you had been a little more annoying and asked some more questions. Tip number 13 is be very specific with your food measurements. So that means if it's in your plan to have 70 grams of blueberries, that means 70 grams. Not 71, not 69, 70. This is like really important, because I think sometimes people get into prep and they're just like, oh, I'll just like eyeball it, or whatever. And it's like, no, there is no eyeballing food in prep. You need to have a food scale, and you don't go by the measurements of like the tablespoon, like actual like tablespoon measurements. You go by grams or ounces or whatever. Because if you think about it, maybe one day of doing, 33 grams of peanut butter instead of 32 grams of peanut butter, not the end of the world. But if you're doing that every day throughout prep, and let's say you have a 5-month prep, right? So 5 months, that's 30 days. That's 150-day prep. That's 150 extra grams of peanut butter if you do that every day. That adds up. That shows on your physique. So again, you don't want to leave anything up to chance. You don't want to leave anything on the table. You don't want to have any regrets when you're stepping on stage. So just follow the measurements exactly as they are. This is more of like a post-show thing, but definitely get judges' feedback. So if you don't know, the judges will stay after a show to give feedback to the competitors. And if you are not able to get them after the show, if like there's too many people waiting and you have dinner reservations, or like if you just, whatever, if it's too crazy, you can always email them after as well. But I recommend staying after because my first season I emailed and I didn't get as like in-depth the feedback as I did when I talked to one of the judges in person this season. Even if, you know, you don't think you're going to compete again, it's still a good idea to get feedback because you never know. You might want to compete again. Like me, I didn't think I was going to compete again after last season. And then I did a whole other season. And it's just good to know how you could have like better fit the criteria of what they were looking for, so that, you know, if you ever want to step on stage again, you know what needs to be done. If you ever get a different coach for another prep, you can tell them like, hey, these are my stage shots from last year or last time I competed, and this is what my feedback was, so that then your new coach could, you know what to do, how to implement that feedback, and where to take your physique. Tip number 15, start posing as soon as you can. Most coaches or people will say like, oh, you only need to really like start like practicing when you're like, I don't know, 10 weeks out or something like that. I wish that I just started literally as soon as I started prep. Because yes, it's an extra expense. You know, a posing coach is a different expense from your regular coach, unless your coach is offering you posing sessions as well, in which case definitely take advantage. But posing makes or breaks placements. One of my pieces of feedback this past season was my front pose was off. I didn't stand upright enough, and so it didn't give me like a smaller waist. That like I could have made my waist look smaller if I had just stood up a little bit more, and that docked me, you know, like that moved my placement down. So definitely start practicing as soon as you can, and practice minimum of 10 minutes every day. I used to do like 30 minutes of posing. When it gets really close to the show, I would do that much. But when you're like 16 weeks out, you still have a lot of time. But just to get yourself into the habit of like making it a part of your routine, like you do your training, you do your cardio, you do your posing, like just get into the habit of doing it, so that once you're getting really close to the show, it's not like a chore and you're not like, oh, I have to put on my heels and I have to pose. Like, no, it's just ingrained in you. It's training cardio posing or cardio training posing, like whatever. Just start doing it so that it's in your body and you're used to it. Tip number 16 is to trust the bikini company that you choose to go with for the cut and color of your suit. So I went with Toxic Angels bikinis, and for my first show, I set up a consultation call, and it was actually a FaceTime. It was like a video, like Instagram video or something, and who I spoke with, I think I spoke with Margaret from Toxic Angels, but she saw me, she saw my complexion, and she said, do you have any colors in mind? And I was kind of like, no, I trust you and your judgment. And she suggested the purple that I wore for my first 2 shows for me. And then as far as the cut of the suit, the jewels and everything, I didn't let her completely choose, but I said, what do you think is best? She gave me options, and then I chose from there. They have been doing it for a long time. They know what looks best on people. If there's a color you really want to do it, but make sure that it's a typical color that you would see on stage. So a good way, a good rule of thumb is look at the top 5 from the Olympia from the year before. So the year before I stepped on stage for the first time, Jennifer Dory was Miss Olympia, and she wore a purple suit. And so that's the suit that I, chose to go with because she said she thought purple would look great on me. And, that's the color that Miss Olympia wore. Usually blues are pretty safe, teals, red, green, pink is like in now, purples. You don't really see a lot of like orange or yellow. So just, be smart about it, because you don't want something as expensive as the suit is, to be the thing that kind of like loses you, points, or, just, you don't want that to be something you get feedback on from the judges. You want it to be more about your physique. Thank you guys so much for watching this far. We have arrived at my last tip. Tip number 17, of course, is just have fun. It sounds so simple, but I promise you, like when you're in the thick of it, when you're like deep in prep, you really like sometimes cannot take your head out of your what long enough to just like appreciate it and enjoy it and be grateful that your body is healthy enough to be able to prep. There's probably so many people that wish they can do a bikini competition or a bodybuilding show, but their health just won't allow them to. Just have gratitude and have fun. Like, honestly, there is nothing like the first time you prep. Not that I wasn't taking it seriously, but I wasn't looking at it as something that like I would have a career in, or that like I would pursue like seriously, like in terms of like trying to go to nationals or trying to go pro. So my first prep was so fun because it was just, I was doing it for me. It was like a bucket list thing. I was like, let's just see like how much I can transform my body. And yeah, that was like, honestly, like that prep holds a special place in my heart, because even though it was tough, it did have its tough moments. I had more fun than I had hard moments. And it is going to get hard. You are going to have days and nights when you are extremely hungry, and it's hard to remember to have fun in those moments. But just know that you're going to look back after your show and when you're not on prep, and you're going to like have moments where you kind of miss being on prep. So I know it sounds crazy to say, but I promise it's true. So yeah, I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if anybody has any questions, please always feel free to leave me comments below. I always try to respond to all of the comments that you guys leave for me. If you have any like questions you don't want to leave in the comments, my Instagram is also linked below. You can always shoot me a message on Instagram. If you're looking for a coach, I offer online coaching as well. I have online programs that I sell, and I would love to work with you. So please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.